approached me about who Evan was, and they wanted to get a project with him going. Eventually, Jared and I threw around the idea of putting Evan in his own film, and Jared was immediately on board with his wife. We wrote something very, very quick, and then found a little bit of money. And Jared, you want to just take it from there about how it all got started with maybe Jackson, Shannon, and Amanda, and how it all happened?
Yeah, it all came together by sheer force, and I saw the character of Russ in the script was kind of a rough and tumble bad guy, and so I immediately thought of Jackson. And at first he didn't want to do it. He said, "Why don't you play it?" I'm like, "You're better at being the asshole." No, but that's because we're buddies. So I'm poking fun at it. But anyways, he came on board, and then Justin brought in Amanda Plummer. We finally secured the financing, and then we held a casting session to find Candy, which is where Shannon came from. And pretty much the rest is history. I brought the idea to Justin that, you know, we're also in a band, and you know, these guys are super talented, should check it out. And he agreed to let us score the film, which was a whole process in and of itself. And you know, it was something that allowed us to grow as musicians as well, because you have to think completely outside the box. It's not songwriting, and I learned a lot watching these guys do it as well. Just coming up, Ben at one point started, well, what did you do? You did some like weird stuff on the bass that I'd never seen before to make like these drone sounds. And, yeah, a lot of cool stuff happened through that process as well. And do you want to talk about what it was like to kind of score the film? And,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, do it.
I mean, I think originally when we were starting off scoring the film, we were aiming for a toy orchestra. Yeah, is what we were aiming for. Something small and simple, familiar sounds that kind of came from people's childhoods and things like that. And we were held up in various hotel rooms across the country, in Chicago and Los Angeles, wherever we could. We'd load our rig in and set this gear up so we could start laying the score for the movie. And the back and forth with us and Justin and with Jared and the rest of the production team was just wonderful. It was our first time ever scoring a project or working in a film, and it got us hooked. It's something we look forward to doing in the future, and it's just been a great project.
Yep.
ask for some questions.
All right, I'm gonna take over as moderator. Hi, how's it going? Anybody got any questions for anybody up here? Yes, right here.
Can you guys tell us what the process has been like from taking it from the script and all of that, and to final, you know, on screen and TIFF and here and the DVD release coming up and all that kind of stuff? Can you tell us what it's been like?
What has it been like? She wants to know how it's been like, process going from script to actuality and now distribution. My director.
Independent films very rarely make it to the theater, so we feel very blessed. I think everyone here. We were one of maybe, Jared, 15 films at Toronto to sell.
Yep.
And very lucky about that. We had an amazing TIFF. We had 3 sold-out screenings. Evan became a mini celebrity for the week. He got us into the Hollywood style party, which none of us could have gotten into.
Well, look at him. I mean, come on.
We're all wet, by the way, because it's pouring outside. Sorry about that. So the one thing that's been really cool is that we've been doing a lot of European festivals up till this moment. And just today, right before the screening, we just found out, I don't know if you guys even know this, they've agreed, because of the ticket sales and the response so far this week, to extend us here at the Quad. We'll be here for the next foreseeable future. We found this out just now, but a couple hours before the screening, but usually indies get about a week in the big cities. The Quad has extended the offer to us to stay here indefinitely. So we will be here.
Nice.
Anybody got any more questions? Anything for our lovely lead actor, Mr. Adam? Anybody got any questions? Don't be shy. Come on. There we go.
It's not so much a question as much as a statement. You're great. Absolutely.
afraid and she wants to slap me.
I think we should just make a line.
We'll do like a meet and greet where just meet everybody else
Hug Evan
and
and slap
slap me.
Can I be second line?
No, you can't be in second line.
That's no fun for me. You got a question?
Question for Evan. How did you get ready for that scene at work where you were so angry with Russ and Candy?
She wants to know how Evan got ready for the scene where he was very angry when he was at work.
Well, when my character was angry, it was from someone who I dislike. Well, the only thing I was thinking of that scene was someone who I dislike. When my character first saw Ross and Candy in Evan's house doing some business, I felt like it was the wrong thing. So I felt like my character should take it out on his boss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's what my
yeah,
character
that's great.
feels like.
Just to contextualize that for you, this was the third day of shooting. I was still not exactly sure how to work with Evan. I was prepared before the film to stand off camera and feed him lines. A couple days in, Jared and I and everyone on board, Quian as well, the DP who did an amazing job, she and I and Jared were like, he's just taking over. We just need to stay out of his way. And he was internalizing it. He was making it emotionally real for himself. And he came to me right before the scene in which he had to trash the cafe. And he said, Justin, do you mind if I do something different on this scene? Can I do something special? I go, what do you want to do? And he goes, I'd like to pretend that my boss is someone in my life who I really dislike. I was like, go for it, Evan, let's do it. And we had a couple takes that were pretty good, but the fourth take, the last one, is the only one that's up there on the screen. He just unleashed in a way that like scared the shit out of all of us. And it's the one that's up there. And Amanda Plummer, it was her last day of shooting. She was in tears. Everyone was clapping, right? You remember this? And I just realized at that moment, Evan is doing something that only the best actors do. He was finding a substitution. He was finding something in his real life that he could make real for the film. And I realized we weren't working with my buddy Evan from high school. We were working with a real actor. And someone who was instinctually, having no training, was doing the things that an actor needs to do to prepare. And from that on, it was just literally getting him prepared with the information he needed for every scene and then staying out of his way and letting him go. And that was really it. And you did a great job on that scene. That was a turning point. It was that scene that you mentioned right there. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Any more questions? Yes, in the back.
Yeah, I have a question for Evan. How did you and Justin meet?
Evan, how did you and Justin meet?
Well, me and Justin first met in junior year at Wayland High School. His parents came to Wayland, and so that really means a lot to me. And I'm glad to have Justin as a friend and director. He's amazing. He gave me wonderful producers who I love, and that thanks him very much for it.
Yeah, I moved to Evans High School halfway through when I was 16, and actually, being the new kid, my first week there, Evan came up to me in the cafeteria my first week and hazed me along with the rest of the football team. That was the first time I ever met Evan, and later he had to make it up to me for me to put him in a role. I put him in a short role in my thesis film, which led to Girlfriend happening because Jared was able to see him in that. But yeah, I forgave him for hazing me.
Anybody else have a question? Anybody? Here we go. Right here.
I've heard you talk before about how Amanda and Evan trained to be mother and son. I thought it would be great if you shared that.
Go ahead, Evan.
I feel with me and Amanda being mother and son, it really means a lot to me. Amanda is such a wonderful mother, and I knew the first day I met Amanda, she took the time to get to know me early. She came down early to get to know me. On her own. So that made me feel a really good connection with Amanda playing me and my mom.
Yeah. Amanda Plummer came in on her own dime, like almost a week early, just to live with Evan in the Red Roof Inn, Natick. to play Evan's mother, and yeah, she just kind of lived with them. They were inseparable for those days, and ganged up on me, told me that we're not going to do the scene this way, we're going to do it that way. But you can feel it in the scene, and we were really lucky to get her. I think she probably spent more money than we were able to pay her on the film, but that just is a tribute to, she's a real artist, and we were just really lucky to get her for the 3 days that we got her, because that role, while short, is really crucial to you missing her when she's gone and feeling for Evan, I think. And so yeah, we're all really lucky to be a part of our project with her.
Next question? Yes, sir?
Congratulations, Justin. You're a writer, so you can tell whatever story you want, right? So, what motivated you, and what about this story were you passionate about that made you go ahead and write it? Because you can do whatever you want, right?
Question to Justin: what passion inspired him to write this incredibly moving screenplay?
Getting rejected a lot in my life. You know, most directors become directors because they've been heavily rejected, romantically. No, seriously though, no. Evan is a projection of me, in a way, going for that unattainable that you can't have. And when Jared and Christina came up to me and said, we want to do something about Evan, knowing Evan and knowing his true desire to have a romantic relationship with someone, I connected with that. And I felt that other people would too. And so, utilizing the financial crisis that was going on, Bear Stearns collapsed like the month I started writing this film. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to set up a situation in which how could Evan utilize his environment to find a way to have a relationship on somebody's terms. And that's how it kind of started, and then it evolved once we cast. But absolutely. Way in the back.
Okay, way in the back here.
Why did you choose this ending? I mean, you could have just stopped Evan saying, yes, I forgive you. Why did you choose this ending?
She wants to know why the ending was chosen.
Because that's what the script said to film, so we just did it.
All right.
Why did you
Yes, over here. Yes.
Why did you choose that location in the woods, in the country, and nature? Why did you choose that versus like a city environment?
Environment. Well, why did you pick the environment you picked?
If you've been to Wayland, there's no city. No, but like the town is really a character in the film. We pick very old pastoral setting to juxtapose like beautiful scenery with really destitute, terrible people. No, I'm serious. I thought it would be a wonderful experiment to take a town full of awful, depraved, jealous, selfish douchebags and put an embodiment of human compassion and unconditional love in the middle of it. And I think there's something really beautiful that happens when you do that. Jackson prepared the role wanting to be a pretty evil guy, and then maybe you can share a little bit about your experiences of your first day on set, meeting Evan, how that role kind of just changed for you once you got to meet Evan, this completely loving and really forgiving and kind of disarmingly funny individual. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that I definitely went into film with a certain mindset and a certain character in mind, and kind of been working on it. And it was one of those things that Jared did convince me to play the role, because as you saw, it's fairly despicable and very far removed from how I was raised. I was really worried my mother would see it and slap me, just like she wanted to. And so whenever I got to set the first day, I'd flown in and went straight to work, and I met Evan, and it was just this blinding sense of light and purity, and no matter how dark I tried to make it, there was this light shining in my face. And there's like a lot of the film, you'll see me squinting a lot, and it's because I'm trying to understand what that is. And it was just something there that we would run lines in the trailer before we would go film, and I tried to play it one way and it just did not work, and so I just gave up very, very early on and just let Evan take over. And it was just an amazing time getting a chance to work with someone so honest and right there in the moment. And there's never a single second filming with Evan, whether I was with him or if I was behind the camera with the other producers watching, where we were like, oh, he's lying. Every single moment that we saw him work, he was right there, he was being honest, and he was giving his entire self to the art and the craft. and it was a very inspiring thing, and everyone in the film stepped up to match his energy and his charisma and his level.
The day when me and Jackson first met, it was Washbone Day.
I will say though that like I was worried when I wrote that role that people would be like, oh, he's just this device, he's just antagonist, but when you guys interacted, there was a real kind of patheticness to your character. No, that made you human. You know, there was a weakness that he brought out that was really nice. But the fact that you were able to alter that because of what you were reacting to him was really nice. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate, you know, being able to do a full week on Twilight and then take a red eye to us for the weekends and never sleep. But that was very nice. We had to steal him from Twilight every weekend to get the movie made in time because we were on a very quick schedule. And Jared, I mean, you could attest to this, but I mean, it was just like run and gun. He would shoot and then we put him back on a plane. So you know, it was independent film. There you go, Jared. Moderator, you can ask more questions.
I'm moderator. Yes, sir, right here.
The scene where Evan breaks the window in the back of the house, what was the purpose of that?
The scene where Evan breaks the window in the back of the house towards the end of the film. Gentlemen would like to know the purpose of that scene.
Evan.
That's a good question, because the day when we shot that, there's only one thing I was thinking when I did that one scene. Boy, did I wish to touch the front door first.